Welcome back to another episode of Shall We Proceed? I am excited to be here today with this show, episode number 6, talking about men's health and men's wellness, something that needs to be discussed. I have 4 amazing guests with me today. 2 are out of town, not partaking on this wonderful remedy that I have in front of me, and 2 are with me. I have Jason Phillips.
Yes. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself.
Yes.
Jason, nice to meet everybody. Thanks everybody for joining in. I'm a licensed therapist and life coach. I've been in the mental health field for about 10 years. I love what I do. I love helping other people. And I'm excited about this podcast. We can talk about men's health.
Awesome. Caleb.
All right. Nice to meet everybody. Thankful to be on the show this evening. My name is Caleb Boswell. I have a master's in counseling, currently working on my licensure to be fully licensed. And I currently kind of serve in the middle ground between education and higher ed, where I serve as an advisor at a community college.
Thank you, Caleb. Antoine.
Hi, everybody. My name is Antoine Fleming. I am a social worker, licensed master social worker, currently waiting to take my clinical test. I've been in social work, mental health for the past 17 years.
And Marlon.
What's up, everybody? My name is Marlon Randolph. I am a licensed master social worker, also preparing for my clinical exam. Feels great to be here with you guys to have this amazing conversation. Let's get it.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Everyone who's watching, please share, like. This post is going to be really informative. It's going to be about men's health and wellness, and it's something that we need to talk about. And I know you have questions. So many questions were submitted, and I really appreciate it. So go to my page, share it, have a watch party, and let's get going. So, gentlemen, we had quite a few questions that came up from quite a few fans, and I want to just jump right into it. But what I first want to ask each of you is, what made you get into the field of mental health and mental wellness? Jason, we'll go with you first.
For me, I think, just being able to talk about mental health. Growing up, I didn't know anything about mental health, so it was all brand new. I would know people would be sad and people wouldn't really kind of engage, but I never had a name to it. So to be able to study psychology and social work and actually find out that, our people have been suffering and have issues just like everybody else, they just haven't been addressed. That really compelled me to want to become a licensed therapist. And, I enjoy it. I enjoy watching people progress, going from A to Z with their goals.
Absolutely. Caleb, what made you get into this field?
So I always knew since high school I wanted to be a therapist, but I think that really got confirmed after graduation from undergrad, doing my job working with pre-college programming and working with students in high school, and just looking at all the different things that they were going through outside of education. It just confirmed my role for wanting to go and continue my education and counseling.
Antoine?
I always say I had no choice. Social work, I grew up in it. My mom was in the helping profession. I come from a family where one half was involved in social services as clients, and the other half was involved in social services as the actual professionals. So, and when I went, both sides. So when I went to undergraduate, it was a real selfish decision because I could get 2 degrees in one shot. So, and that's what I did. And I grew to love social work and working with those disadvantaged youth.
Nice.
Marlon.
Well, for me, it's a little different. Social work chose me. In 2007, one of my childhood friends was killed in the neighborhood that we grew up in. And at that point, for me, it was like, you know what? I have to do something to make a change. It's something that I have to do for it to be different for future generations, be it my kids, friends' kids, or whatever the case may be. So I always tell everyone, I didn't choose social work. It chose me because I just wanted to be the one out of my neighborhood to make some type of a difference.
That's awesome. And you definitely want to work with kids. You said 12 to 17.
Correct. I call them the forgotten population.
Hey, they are. They really, really are. I think with the way society is and what you see in the world and just what men of color go through,
Right.
and the way we're raised, girls are raised totally different than boys.
Correct.
And how they mold and shape them. I think now we're doing it differently, our generation, trying to make it more fair. But I can say for me, in my age group and older, boys were told to be tough, suck it up, do this, and young girls were coddled and cared for. It's just different, and I think that totally flows through your life. And I think I commend you all for being in this field, and I really appreciate it. So really quickly before we get into those questions, how do you feel about these new social media therapists? These people pop up now with all this advice they have for people. Okay, Marlon, we'll let you go first.
Man, the level of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have so many individuals who want to be life coaches who never actually practiced or studied or put in the work that we put in through interns and things of that nature, and just want to say, you know what, I've read a couple articles, or I speak well enough, or I have a way of putting words together to bring people in, and people just follow that trend. You know what I'm saying? Right. So then it becomes like, well, shoot, I'm gonna just go ahead on Trent, whoever's page, or this person's page, or that person, and you sit there like, man, I know I ain't bust my butt
for years
going to school. And for me, I feel I'm even more compelled. I had 2 kids. I worked a full-time job and went to school. Mm-hmm. So for somebody else 4 or 5 years later and call themselves a life coach who just woke up one morning and was like, you know what? I think this go hit.
This hitting.
Yeah.
Since we went with you, Antoine, how do you feel about it?
I just it irks me. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like social media can be a very powerful, positive thing.
It's a beast.
It can also be a very negative thing. Mm-hmm. And if you have everybody who's here, we study, we know the theory behind mental health, we know different interventions, we're grounded in some type of clinical basis or theory of study. And if you just have somebody who just watched Fix My Life 2 weekends in a row, binged on the weekend.
Let's not talk about Ayala.
No, I'm just saying.
Do not get me started.
It's a movement with her,
man,
though.
Don't get me started on that lady.
Movement.
Okay.
I get it, but you have somebody who binge watched over the weekend, and now you can dish out and dole out this advice that can be very damaging. I mean, people forget that on the other side of that profile, it's a person going through something, going through events. And it's very frustrating to me, and to see the word toxic being thrown around so
I will bring that
liberally.
Up. Yeah, those labels.
We'll get in that. But yeah, very frustrating. Frustrating.
Caleb.
I agree with the other fellas. I have a problem with it because we studied there's theory behind it. And one of the first rules when, in counseling is that we don't give advice. I can't tell somebody how to live their life. I can navigate you. I can help you look at some things differently. There's no way that I can tell you how to live your life. And that's what people are kind of doing. They're just, they're getting a small piece of what they hear and they're just saying, oh, all you need to do is, and you'll be set. You don't have that backstory. You don't have no follow-up. You can't develop with that person. So, I got a problem with it too.
Jason, how do you feel?
I'm gonna take a different approach. I mean, I do think that people should, respect our profession and respect our credentials. But I think that, clients or individuals, they know, or I should say this, they they know when somebody is just kind of putting on and not really authentic.
Right.
And by doing that, I think that, people have to pick and choose, what they, who they seek out and do their research. That's what I would say. I mean, I respect everybody's hustle. I know that the term life coach is everywhere now.
Yeah.
But one thing is, I'm not knocking it, but I think as the individual seeking out the help, make sure you do your research before you just go out and buy this product and think that it's going to change you.
My issue with it, and I have none of the credentials that any of you gentlemen have, is people are so fragile right now and delicate. And you have to, my time going to therapy and actually taking that time after many, many years and seeing the journey that she took me through, you just can't sit behind somewhere and just shoot out advice and think it's grand. Correct. And to me, what's happened with these, Kwanzi, whatever people is you have all these labels coming around now that I can't. Everyone's getting labeled this or that. And it's like, how are you just labeling people? We had an issue with them labeling kids back in the day, put on medication. Now you're labeling people all these things, and that's the excuse now. You're labeled this, that's the excuse. And have you really sought out help? And are you being real with yourself and being honest with yourself, to me, where you can get that from professional, make you be honest and transparent to figure out what's really going on. You're not getting transparency. You're getting people, to me, who are high-fiving and agreeing with your nonsense. Correct. That's on the extreme end of it that I have a problem with. And that's where you have we shall not name that person. You have those things, and everything doesn't have to be aggressive. Everything doesn't have to be what it is. And to me, you get a portion of society gets left out. That's why I think the men get left out, because you have these people now, to me, that are very one-sided in what they're doing, and it's not really helping anyone.
Right, and it's also like shallow forms of motivation.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
You know, they'll give you a small piece of maybe a very small percentage of something you may be dealing with. But us as therapists, we know that's only the surface issue.
Right.
It's something else that caused you to get to that point. So the real crisis is underneath. So when most people receive that shallow motivation, us as therapists, we know, okay, motivational interviewing. Let's ask these other types of questions that we can really, get to the second and third layer.
Absolutely.
That's why I say, for me, it's just a lot of shallow motivation.
Yeah.
That a lot of social media life coaches and individuals of that nature present the way they do, I believe.
Can I?
Go ahead.
So for me, like social media, when you think about social media, your social media is surrounded by like-minded people.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you're not going to have anyone who's your friend or something that thinks totally opposite of you that may give you a totally different perspective. So like you were saying, like you'll get that superficial motivation, and you may think, oh, this is what I need. But I think that, we need to be very careful. People need to be very careful how they use social media, especially when it comes to mental health. People's lives are at stake. Like I think these gentlemen would agree, we take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mental health is a life or death game. People, like I work at LBJ Hospital, and I have seen people die from the things that they have done when they were in a crisis. So running to Facebook, Instagram to get some piece of help from somebody who's not prepared for all that comes with it.
Right.
Now, if you're prepared to come with all that comes with it, if you're okay, I can let me direct you here, but 9 times out of 10, that's not happening. You get this piece of advice, and that's it.
Do you feel, all of you, I want to ask this question before we dig into the outside questions. Do you feel, what are your biggest struggles being these professionals? Would you say, not just social media, what are your struggles that you face working in this field, and what do you battle against for people getting help on a regular basis?
I would say my biggest struggle is simply getting people to go.
People to go?
It's simply to go. You have individuals who recognize things aren't right. They recognize that emotionally or mentally they may not be in the right place. We're going to talk about it later, but they're so more pressed on the stigma and not going, that you spend such an uphill battle of, okay, I recognize X, Y, Z is going on. This is what we can do about it. But they don't want to move forward, with therapy, with counseling. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges, really just trying to break it down and convincing people to kind of give the process a try and to give it a shot. And feel like they don't just have to hold it all in or just trying to cope the way that they're coping, but, there's professional help out there.
Jason?
I agree with Caleb. I think getting people to go, and then after that, once they get into the room and they start to trust us and really open up, and then they figure out, like, some of the gentlemen said, that we are trained. So we ask more questions and get to more core issues. Then I think people kind of get scared because now they've opened up that wound. I look at it like surgery. We get to the core issues, and then they don't want to do the physical therapy after they've kind of shared everything that they're going through. So then they may drop out when they kind of get scared, because it's like, wow, I'm really starting to disclose what's really going on. And then they feel like, am I being judged, or what am I going to do with all this? or it's like a sticker shock. They're like, wow, I didn't even know it was that bad.
Oh, I'm that person. I stopped going. I was like, oh, this is too real. How dare you?
Well,
No.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I believe it's a couple of different things. So, from one end, you have a lot of individuals who don't do enough research, like Jason said. You know, they'll just Google and the first therapist come up, they may go to that therapist, as opposed to checking that therapist's background. Like, for example, I got married just this past January. My
Congrats.
wife, she made the responsibility of mine to seek out the marriage counselor. She was like, that's your field. You find somebody. And I was like, so I said, you know what? So I just started researching people. And I found this one particular lady. I was like, ooh, I like all of her credentials. I like everything she's talking about. So I dug a little deeper, and the experience with her was an amazing experience. And I think that's probably the number one thing is people don't do enough research. Like, they'll take that first step, but if they don't like that therapist, they're like, well, I ain't going. Okay. It's
Look for someone else.
50,000
Yeah.
more
Yeah, look
in
for
your
someone else.
area,
Yeah, look for someone else.
that you can find.
And what about you, Antoine?
For me, like most of my practices come working with youth, teenagers, adolescents, and the problem that I face is parents or systems dropping these kids off at therapy, fix them, leave,
Yeah.
and expect that
And want you to fix them.
right, fix them, and then in 2 weeks this is a new kid, or parents drop the kid off at therapy and then he's the problem. This is the problem. And not wanting to address, well, even if this kid makes some monumental gains and changes, he still has to go back home
To that environment.
To that
and what's that
environment.
home like?
Yeah.
So that has been the biggest frustration. Like, it's not just this kid. This kid is a product of what is going on.
So your frustration is not the care; it's the aftercare that they're not getting at home.
Correct.
Just like
Correct.
with a teacher, you
Correct.
send your kid home with homework, and the parents not even helping them.
Right.
Why my child failing? Well, are you helping them
Right.
do anything?
Oh, you going over these spelling words.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let's dig into these questions. We have quite a few questions that people sent in that I think are interesting and we should definitely talk about. So the first question I want to ask is, how do we get men into mental health?
Dum. It's like
I guess what we can say is, how do you get them to start caring about their mental health, and how do you get men to?
Well, I think that's the biggest issue for men's mental health. For so long, we were taught to be strong and independent and not show emotion or feelings or anything of things of that nature. I think the biggest thing we can do is constant education, constant communication, platforms like this. Shall we proceed discussing men's mental health, and
Look at you plugging.
going, hey, I got you. and speaking specific to certain issues and concerns that men have that they refuse to address in a public forum. They may address it with one friend, but that friend may be in a worse situation than they are. So they may give hey, man, just go ahead and pray about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you be good.
Right.
But there's no follow-up to it. So if that's my friend and I know he's going through issues, I'm going to call you every day. I'm going to get on your nerves. What's good, fam? You straight? What you do? Come over. Let's talk. Let's drink. Let's have a drink.
But
Let's
you're a
chill.
professional, though, so you already know to do that, though.
But I also believe that's just my personality as well,
yeah.
especially if it's somebody I care about. And for me, I don't care about a lot of people. That's outside of my family. I'm just being honest.
No, that's real though. That's honest.
Yeah, no,
that's
I'm just
honest.
being honest.
Yeah.
So for me to say, okay, this person is not a part of my family bloodline, and to say I care about you and I love you as a friend and as a person, I'm going to treat you that, because there's the saying, blood is thicker than water, but you need water to survive, right?
Okay, go ahead. Caleb, what do you think?
So, me personally, I try to use my social media platform and utilize the hashtag therapy is wrong. For men, it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit double down, if you want to say, simply because if you're already going through something or already struggling, there's already that issue with you trying to cope. But then you want to double down on that as a man because then you have that shame. So then you are trying to cope and deal with what you're going with in the same breath, trying to hide it all at the same time. And so similar to what my man said, I'm that person that's going to reach out to my friends. But even in the masses, I'm always looking for different articles, always looking for different things to post about, to talk about, and just make it normal. When I do presentations and things of that nature, I always say, if you on the basketball court and hooping and you tweak your ankle, you're not just going to walk off and be like, oh, I'm going to be cool. You're going to go, to the urgent care. You're going to get some help. You're going to do what you need to do. So just as it's no different for you to go get your ankle fixed when your heart and your mind not right, it's nothing wrong with seeking that professional help. And so I think the thing that we need to do is just normalize it. For too long, it's been made as if something's wrong or be crazy or go. But I think that when you just say, hey, this is normal, this is something that I do, it kind of takes that stigma off. It helps take that shame off. Because I think that's a double issue with men. You already know you're not feeling right. You already know you have some issues going on. And then it's like, dang, I can't even open up about it. I can't even let nobody know I got something going on because you're ashamed because you may be depressed or going through anxiety. So, like I said, I just try to use different platforms just to normalize it, whether that's online, whether that's a conversation.
Jason, what do you think?
I think, for one, the benefits have to be very, very clear. For us as men, we are complex, but we're very simple too. So if the benefits are clear and we know, hey, if we go into that room, it's going to help by, getting us better relationships with our spouse, or it's going to help us perform better on the job. Like if it's very concrete and we can see the benefits, then I think we're more prone to go. Myself being a therapist, I push it and push it and push it to family and friends. And because I have experience and they respect me, they're more prone to go. But the average person doesn't have, a best friend or a cousin or brother as a licensed, social worker. So they don't know the benefits. So I think that's where we kind of sell ourselves short by not knowing how it can really help us.
Antoine?
I think what everybody just said is correct. Like we have to, I believe that we as a community, as African Americans, Black folk, and y'all have to excuse me, I just took a tour of the African American History Museum, so I'm coming at this with like
a different
ancestors
behind
me.
Wakanda family.
Yeah. We have to we have to make mental health as important as health. We have to link the two because they are linked.
Right.
You can be the most fit, you can be the most athletic, but if you're not right, it's not going to click. So I think that in the community, we have to have men's health, a total men's health push. It has to encompass mental health. It has to encompass physical health. Like I said, I work at LBJ currently, and I can't tell you how many brothers come in there in the last stages of cancer because they felt something. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. And then by the time somebody in their family makes them come in, or they're found in a pool of their own blood in the bathroom,
right?
You're in the last stages of cancer. Like we have to normalize this. We have to make this as general as men's health, and make it acceptable in the community. Because right now it is not. It is a sign of weakness, seen as a sign of weakness.
But do you think, when I put the call out, where are the male mental health professionals, right? And I got a lot of names, but not really a lot of names.
Right. But let me respond real quick though. Like Antoine saying, once they get that stage 3, stage 4 cancer patient, I currently work in hospice. So that patient comes to me. So when that patient comes to me, I'm not only dealing with the dynamics of that particular individual, but I'm also dealing with the dynamics of denial within the family. If they have a young child that.
So now you're trying to help everyone.
So now, so you're not only providing therapy to an individual who's actually physically going through it and emotionally and mentally going through it, who's never truly expressed themselves mentally and emotionally. Now you have to deal with the grief and those 5 stages of grief with the wife, the mother, the brother, the sister, the daughter, the cousin. And in some families, you're looking at 20, 30 family members. I've been to homes where a patient has passed. It's 30 people in the house waiting for the funeral home to get there. It's 30 people. And I'm just there. They all just waiting their turn. Well, baby, come on in. You want some coffee? No. But being in this field long enough, I already know the funeral home going to take 2 to 3 hours to get there. So now I got 3 hours to talk to 29 people.
And if I could, it's sad that in our community we don't take action. Our action is usually a reaction.
Correct.
So somebody has to come to the emergency room with an emergency detention order. Somebody has to be on death's door at cancer before everyone is like, hey, you need to go get checked out.
Okay.
Right.
My thing is, though, I think for men do not want to talk to a woman about their problems.
Pause. I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think all of us disagree.
Oh, okay. Wait, don't attack me. Don't attack me.
So, but like I gave the example earlier, my premarital counselor was female.
You feel comfortable?
Absolutely.
But
because
what I mean is on a personal, because this is the thing, the way, I'm just
go ahead.
layman on this, with the way society has things set up, men should always be strong, never show weakness. Women can show weakness. There's so much out here for us. We can have wellness, we can have all these things, but very few men want to show weakness. Men of color do not want to show weakness. And they're sick. I'll put some Bengay on it, or whatever they have to do. They don't want to tell anyone they're struggling.
But the way,
and will they feel comfortable going to a woman if they're struggling?
Definitely, because we come from the woman. We come from the woman's womb. I mean, just think about some of the terms that we use. We go into the crib. Babies sleep in cribs. A mother.
So it's not an
caresses
issue
a
to come
child.
to a woman. So then
No, we prefer. It's easier for us to go to a woman than it is a man, because most times when we go to a man, we got to be macho about the situation. Hey man, look,
Exactly.
I would agree.
so I cheated
You
on
agree
my
with that,
girl,
Caleb?
right?
You agree?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, you agree?
I think that we want to go to a woman. We just want to make sure that the woman is going to listen.
And we don't listen, huh? I'm just. I
I
mean,
ain't even about that. You
No,
know what?
you ain't gonna touch
Hey,
that?
what other question we got?
I just want to say it
Go
has to
ahead.
be
Go ahead.
it doesn't matter if it's a male or female. I think that the male, African American male, has to feel that professional has their best interest in mind and they can trust them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be
It's
male,
about
female.
trust.
It's about trust.
Yes.
It's about
Okay.
I would say to piggyback off of that, it's really about not being judged. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to just make sure that whoever you're talking to is comfortable. Anytime somebody come in my office, I make the joke. And I say my office is like Planet Fitness. This is a judgment-free zone. So I'm not calculating or thinking like you're crazy, at least not in front of you. But but no, it really boils down to that comfort level. And so nobody wants to sit in front of somebody and you feel like, well, are they thinking about me crazy or what they're writing down? You want to be able to be able to build that rapport. And that goes back to what the gentleman said earlier about that research. You know what I'm saying? You want to pick somebody who you feel comfortable with and where you can establish that line of trust. So it really doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's really about creating that rapport and that trust.
Absolutely.
So let me move on to a next question, since I guess the other one's going to say what's the stigma is about seeking help, and it's not about us coming to a woman. It's just pretty much feeling safe, feeling non-judged, and but do you think there's enough information out there that men know where to look to where they can seek help and feel comfortable seeking help? It's like you can just Google anything, because Google's is the world. You can find anything. You can do mental health or wellness. The first 50 pages about women getting mental health and mental wellness. Very few things show where men can seek help and get good quality help. Where should they go? What do they have to look for? What are their outlets they should be looking for to get help? Would you go to your physician and then they refer you? And few men even go to physicians. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation right there.
Well, do they have physicians?
Yeah,
Do we
Right.
have
Yeah.
insurance?
Yeah,
Like,
so
do we
it's a
have
whole
insurance?
nother-
Like, that's a whole nother thing.
Roll of the beast,
Yeah.
right.
Well, when it comes to the whole physician thing, one point is most men don't go to the doctor
Period.
until they can't physically get out of the bed,
Exactly.
or they have to go.
Mhm.
But I would say it still comes down to research. When we had the conversation last week, you have guys that's 40, 45 years old. They know how to start a Facebook, Tinder, Plenty of
Everything.
Fish. They know how to
Yeah.
they know how to swipe left, swipe right.
Yeah.
But they don't. They make a conscious decision not to detail their search or refine their search. If you refine your search enough times on Google, and the way social media is set up now, when you go on Facebook,
It's gonna pop up in your news
I
feed.
I'll give you a perfect example. I Googled a particular workout piece of equipment. The next day I went on Facebook. Every 10 posts
Yeah.
was something about that particular brand.
They watching you. That's
You
a
know,
whole
so
other
it's
conversation.
man, they've been watching me since '98, but I ain't even gonna go there. But you know but that's just one of the things. We can't continue to allow one another to give each other excuses on there's not enough research or there's not enough resources out there. No, there's always resources at this current time when it comes to men's mental health. The resources are just so limited because the research shows that men rarely choose to use those outlets.
Absolutely. I can tell you personally, I am a sneakerhead. I love sneakers. I found a pair of Pumas.
What size shoe you with?
I'm a 13.
Damn.
I found a pair of Pumas that have Baltimore graffiti written all over them. They're specific to Baltimore because I'm from Baltimore.
Right.
Wait, hold on. Where you from?
I'm Baltimore.
Baltimore,
Maryland. It took me approximately an hour to find those shoes. Why did I spend an hour finding those shoes? Because it was something that I wanted to do.
Yep.
Men have to want to get better, get help. Men, women, everybody, when it's something that we want, we're going to take the extra lengths to get it. And it doesn't matter if that thing is in Sugar Land and we live in Katy. We're going to go get it.
That is.
So let me ask this another question. How do you think men's mental health determines how they treat women?
Ooh. I'll go last. You're
going to go last?
I'll go last on this.
Okay, Jason, you go first on this. They trying to,
Time to go.
I think once we can kind of have our own mental health in check, we know, our shortcomings, we know what we're struggling with. We start to look at, some childhood issues that are unresolved. Then when we get into relationships with women, I think we're a lot more understanding. We're a lot more patient because we kind of poured into ourselves first. We have a lot more energy to pour into them. But when we haven't kind of done like a self-check or a self-inventory, then everything that woman comes with is just going to frustrate the heck out of us.
Speak freely. It's okay.
We don't know how to manage our own mood, our own depression, our own anxieties.
Yeah.
Then when we get into these relationships and we see insecurity, we see jealousy, we see mood swings, we're going to judge all of that as crazy or you ratchet or you got stuff. But if you
start labeling us, right?
Yeah, label you all because we haven't done our own work on ourselves. But once you do the work on yourself, I think you're a lot more supportive in those relationships.
Caleb?
I would say he took my same analogy though. You can't pour into others when you running low. But from a different perspective, I think oftentimes when you see individuals dealing with depression or you see them dealing with anxiety, somewhere along the line there's an emptiness, there's a void, and you see individuals trying to fill that void. Sometime in those relationships, and because that void isn't being filled, oftentimes those relationships aren't healthy. Because you're trying to feel something that another person can't feel. You have to put that work in and work on you and figure out what's missing and figure out what you need to do to enhance yourself to be a better person. And oftentimes you see individuals trying to fill that void with somebody else. And it may be the sex, it may be the cuddling, it may be all those things for a while. But at the end of the day, that emptiness is still there. You haven't dealt with that huge white elephant in the room.
Antoine?
I have to agree with Caleb and Jason. Like you can't be with someone, you can't share a life with someone if you're not right. This is plain and simple. Like you can't if you don't know how to negotiate conflict, if you don't know how to manage your anger or express it in appropriate manners, if you don't have the coping skills, how can you have a positive relationship? And you will find yourself bouncing from person to person, trying to fill that void. So it not only just our relationships with females, but our relationships with others, period. Mm-hmm. If you can't manage yourself, if you can't manage your emotions, if you can't control your impulses, how you going to have any type of meaningful relationship with anyone?
And I see it a lot on social media, and you're going to have to answer this question. But I see it a lot on social media because, no, it's equal opportunity around here. And social media is, it's a beast, but a friend of mine calls it a social experiment. When you look at social media, you can tell, I'm not professional, but you can see illness real quick and how people respond, how they act. And like, why are you so angry? Why are you so quick to just, and then you look at the person that like, oh, because you by yourself, you can't keep a relationship, you can't keep a job. There's a lot going on. You need to get some serious help. Yeah. And it flows. And after a while, it just kind of boils over. So Marlon, what are your thoughts on it? Oh, yeah, you have to answer this question.
What was the question?
You know the question. Don't do that.
Well, personally, I believe it starts with your home dynamic growing up. What type of love did you see? What type of relationships did you see? Absolutely. And then also growing up in whatever type of community you grew up in, what was those relationships like that you were around? Whether it was friends, older cousins, brothers, whatever the case may be, those friendships and relationships is the foundation of who you are and what you become as an adult. So if you have a womanizing uncle, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be a womanizing individual, right?
And people don't agree with it. And I brought that up a few weeks ago with some friends of mine.
There's some cases. That's why I said 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's not a situation where it's going to be 100% of the time, but a lot of the things you are around are the things you become. The old saying, iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man.
Yep.
So if I'm around a bunch of friends who beat their wives or girlfriends or whatever the case may be, at some point I'm going to actually consider it. Like, you know what? He getting her to act right.
That's what you see, that you don't know anything any
right.
different.
I'm just saying based off of, a person only going to show you what they want you to see at the end of the day.
Yep.
So for me personally, it's what was poured into you. And then once you become of age, what you choose to shed and replace it with.
But that goes into generational curses. That goes into environmental.
Right.
I'm real big on your frame of reference is how you see things. I don't think anyone is right or wrong. It's your frame of reference. If that's not what you're used to, how would you treat or do anything differently because you're not exposed to anything else?
Unlearn and relearn.
Right.
Simple as
But you
that.
have to be willing to get out of that environment and see
Right.
things. I think it's really big when people travel and go other places and
Right.
leave their environment, like, living in New Orleans. Some people have never left New Orleans.
Whoa.
I lived there for a little while, and when we left for Katrina, some people had never left New Orleans. They never even went to Baton Rouge, which was like an hour away. So their mentality was just that, and I think is really big for people to know, like for men to seek help. Did his dad seek help? Anyone seek help? You have to see certain things.
So let me defend New Orleans right quick.
No, don't.
New Orleans has a very strong culture and a very
it's
a good and bad.
Coming out right there. Go ahead.
For real.
It's coming out.
Hold
right
on
there.
there, baby. But New Orleans has a very strong culture and it has a hold on you. And a lot of us don't see that hold. I moved to Houston almost 5 years ago. I didn't see that hold New Orleans had on me until probably a year and a half, because I was going home every weekend. I didn't even want to find a barber here in Houston. I was like, man, I'm going home to get my hair cut.
That's a 5-hour drive.
Because I was just finding reasons to go back home, because certain parts of that home, it just got a hold on you. It's a comfort. Even though that comfort may be a cesspool, it's a comfort nonetheless. And that's the same thing in mental health.
And, I'm going to come at it because I'm from Baltimore. And I have friends and people that I know who've never left a block. Their whole world is that block, because they're in a store. Right. They go to school down the street.
Yeah.
All their family members are within that block. They don't leave. So I know for me and my family, when I left and went to Houston, my family member was like, what? Some people couldn't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's your brother going to do? Like,
live?
Right. He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But more, I would gamble, like a lot of children, a lot of our adolescents, a lot of our youth live in those type situations. It's not feasible for them to leave. They don't have the resources.
Family pressure to, why are you going? Why are you leaving? Because they never left. Why are you leaving?
Yeah.
It's and luckily for me, my family encouraged growth. Go. My mom used to say, I want you to sow all your oats now. You know?
But again,
No, there's no.
people have to know and understand your cultural background.
Yeah,
too, though.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
That's a difference. Like for me, I'm the only one in my entire family that does not live in New Orleans. The only one. So when I go home, it's like, hey, it's a party.
Yeah,
Welcome
right.
back. You know what I mean?
So next question, I'm going to jump into this one. These are a little bit more complex and deeper, and Jason will answer first. I'm gonna let you go
Oh,
last.
okay.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
So how can society help men, particularly men of color, see therapy in a positive light? How can we help men see in a positive light?
I think it's a couple of things we can do. One, the women really have to push the men to go. And I'm not putting the onus on the women, but I am
But you did.
because, men, we want to please our woman. And I can relate to Marlon. Like when I got married, my wife put the onus on me. Hey, you find a marriage counselor. So what did I do? I found a marriage counselor. So, we want to keep our wives happy. Another thing society can do, conversations like these, but also we have to be open to seeking out non-African American therapists too, because there's only like 2 to 5% of us in the field, depending on which specialty. We can't keep up, so we just need culturally competent therapists, and then once we do that, I think we'll be a little bit better off.
But the fear is, right now there's a movement of you don't understand me because you don't look like me, you don't know me. So how can you help me?
Like I literally just wrote that down.
Oh, so Caleb, you answer the question. And you can say the same thing if you want to later on.
Oh, no,
I'm sorry?
Opposite.
Go ahead and answer the question. How can society help men of color seek therapy in a positive light?
Definitely. Like I've been saying all show, it just simply needs to be normalized. You see commercials for everything, for every appeal, for everything, a commercial for every ailment. But can you really think about a commercial or something you said to say, hey, you're not feeling right? Go see a therapist, and this is where you can go. It just needs to become a societal norm. It needs to be something that needs to be normalized, even on a school level. Because even if you look at it from the school level, or I'll go from a college level at that, on every college campus, there's CAPS, there's counseling and psychological services. And every year, every day, there's some student who's like, what? We got that? What? I have students that come in my office. We offer 8 free sessions every semester to every student. And it's like, what? Y'all do that? And so we need to put that out there and just make it the norm and be like, this service is something that you can go to, and just put it out there that it's a normal thing and it's no different.
Antoine?
I agree. It has to be normalized. I think it has to be a part of our everyday conversations. It has to be something that we're not ashamed to talk about. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we talk about it every day. Mm-hmm. I think it needs to be in the schools. I think it needs to be at every level of care that someone would interact with a healthcare professional. The school nurse should be screening these, be trained to be able to see, hey, there's something going on here. Mm-hmm. Teachers need to take an active role. Parents need to take an active role.
Absolutely.
We have to start young. But as far as men, I think grown men, we need to wake up and say, hey, some things aren't normal. Some things I need help with, and I need to seek help. It needs to be something that, like I said, we talk about and make normal.
I do agree with Caleb and Antoine in reference to normalizing the process. Caleb just mentioned something that I never knew about. In reference to what's it saying? You said it's CAPS. Yeah, that's something I never knew about. So normalizing it, but presenting it in a way where you kind of have to flood the market with it,
absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Those infomercials at 2-3 in the morning, the next day they stuck in your mind.
They are.
You might just go check that infomercial website just to really see the price of that particular item. But for me personally, I do also believe that seeing a therapist that looks like you bring and provides a certain level of comfort. Like, man, this dude, he black. Like he's not
Right.
Y'all know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
He's not that individual that, you know what, he might just get me. He might just understand.
But that's what
my
I also go back
situation
to
or my
with a guy
circumstance.
with you want to go to a man. But I see you want to. I understand what you're saying, but it also sounds like for women we want to see. Like for me, I want to look at someone who looks like me.
Right.
Because I don't think you'll understand me in a therapy session, and I may be wrong.
Hey,
Just like a doctor, we change doctors because I don't want a man. Let me get a woman; she may understand me. That's why I felt personally that men would want to see men and have that conversation, but. Clearly, all of you told me I was wrong. So.
But another thing to that is, you know, my thing is, I want to keep my money in my community.
Okay.
You know, like, you know, rest in peace, you know, Nipsey Hussle. That's what he was about. All money in. If you look at any other race or any other culture, whether it's Jewish, Asian, whatever, their money is going to go around their community at least 10 times before it goes outside of that community.
Yeah.
So you might not seek this therapist that you like, but you have 4 therapists that are black males. I don't think my entire time in grad school or undergrad that I was ever in a classroom with 4 other black males. Like my grad school, I went to a PWI. I was the only black male in the program.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no one to relate to. You know, so when we go out and we present ourselves in whatever setting we're working in, when you tell someone, oh yeah, I'm a social worker, like, you a male social worker? I'd be like, that's me.
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely compels you to kind of stay on that front line. You know, you may get offered that position to be in the office and navigating and controlling things, but then people don't see you as much.
Right.
So they don't have that opportunity. You have say for example, you're working LBJ, and you take a management role. Okay, now you're no longer on that front line. So if you have a young black man come in that's dealing with depression, bipolar, anxiety, or whatever it is,
he's no longer there now.
It may be a female therapist or therapist of another ethnic background, and they may not want to communicate with that individual. But you
real.
being on that front line,
that is real.
Yeah,
And
see?
so
I was right.
Say, bruh.
I was right.
It just depends on what the situation is.
Let the record show I was right a little bit.
So I want to. Can I follow up on that?
Go ahead.
At LBJ, right, we get patients who come in who are on EDOs, emergency detention orders, right? So that means that they are in immediate harm to themselves or to the community, somebody in the community. Right. What I have noticed with my social work eyes, my African-American social worker eyes, male eyes, is that in just general treatment for health conditions and mental health services, black folk are treated differently.
Definitely.
Whereas a black person, okay, you can, and I when I noticed this, I was like, I'm gonna pay attention to this. You could have an African American woman come in who has symptoms of bipolar and she's in crisis or whatever, and I've heard it be said, oh, well, we'll keep her here overnight. She just wants a place to stay. We'll discharge her or give her 2 bus passes. But when that white woman come walking in there, we need to work this up. We need to see what this is, and she may need to go here, me to go there. So we have to get rid of that as well. And I think one of the ways that you get rid of that is having more black mental health professionals. Yeah. And the way of getting more black mental health professionals is that you have to put it out there to our youth who would take interest in going into the profession. Right. Like I said, in my undergrad, I was one of 3 black males. One of 3. Everybody else was female. Like, so.
That's why I put the call out. Where y'all at? Did you experience that, Jason, as well, or Caleb? Did y'all experience only being?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a psych major, it's me and my boy Rob from undergrad.
Oh, just 2. Okay.
But from grad, it was just me. So it was, I mean, there were women of color, a few, but it was predominantly white women. And as I saw one other black male in my program, and we didn't know each other existed. Because he was wrapping up, and I was in the beginning of one class. I was like, oh, bro, hey. But no, it's serious. And even though I don't come from a hospital setting, I come from an education setting. That representation does matter. I can't tell you how many times, because my name on paper doesn't look the way I look, that I come up to the front and I call a student, and they see, black dude with dreads, and they're like, "You the counselor?" And I'm like, "Yeah, come on back." And it's almost, especially when there's something difficult, I can almost see like a sigh of relief, like, okay, he not just gonna, just do the paperwork or pass me on. He's gonna get me. He's gonna relate to me. And so that representation does really matter.
Yeah.
What about you, Jason?
Yeah, I experienced the same. Being like there was me and maybe one or two other black guys in my program. So out of like a couple hundred in the
Yeah.
University of Michigan. So I mean, we were like very, very rare. I think not only having a black therapist does help, but also we need to be in positions of power so we can kind of control the hiring and the training for the staff.
So
It becomes a thing more or less like trying to find a balance.
yeah,
Right.
because like one of our Facebook Live viewers, Janae, was saying, shout out to Janae, our symptoms are normalized. Like, oh, you're fine.
Yeah,
You're okay.
minimized, very
And
much so.
and you hear about it with women a lot when we go to the hospital with childbirth, anything. She's okay. She just they never think we really need help, and that's frustrating.
That's a growing issue.
And from black men, you're fine because that stigma of you're big, you're bad, you're this, you're that.
You can run and jump.
You can run in. All they care about, you run, you jump. How are you gonna make me money in these fields? And you're hurting. And then if no one's listening to you, not even your own family sometimes, you just push it down and push it down. That goes for men and women of color. You push it down and push it down. And I experienced it in my life. And I know it's not about me, but, Orleans, she's fine. How's she doing? She's good. How everybody else doing? Hey, I'm grieving. I'm going through things. Right. So I just think
How'd that make you feel? I'm about to.
No, we're not having that session today. We're not doing that today. Pause.
I brought my good notebook. I brought my good notebook.
Pause that shit. No.
You are speaking to 4 black male therapists.
Yeah. This was not to no.
Hey man.
No.
If you crack that door. So we like CPS. We running through that thing.
To our second to last question then. Have any of you all sought out therapy at any point in your lives?
I go now.
What?
I go now.
Okay, so
But I would say the fact that I go now, it makes me a better counselor. Because when you are on that other side of the couch, that client is looking at you and they're putting you on a pedestal. And I think the fact that I've been on that other side, and I am on that other side as a client, I know what it's like to be nervous. I know what it's like to want to be vulnerable. I know what it's like to second guess what I want to say. So when I see a client in my office doing that, I call it double dutching. They kind of, like, I can see you kind of want to say something, you kind of going back and forth. And
I am the double dutch master. Sure.
But I can recognize it. And because, I'll be open with a client and say, I go. And I'll express to them some of the things that they've been feeling. It kind of puts them at ease and it brings them a comfort level because I'm coming from their perspective. I'm not just coming from this high and mighty perspective of, I'm the counselor and I can tell you what you need to do and this is I'm just as normal and just as human as they are. And so I feel like it makes me better as a counselor because I look at, me as a client where I struggle. So when I see a client across from me struggling, I can recognize that even better.
What about you, Jason?
Yeah, I've been at various points in my life, and it's definitely made me better as a therapist because you come into therapy, you're spending money and you're spending time. So for me, it's made me kind of get to core issues, have goals, so that person does not feel like I'm just coming there venting, but we're actually problem solving. And I think, being on that other side helped me see like, hey, when somebody's taking off work or spending whatever X amount of dollars for that hour, they need your undivided attention. They need you to listen. They need you to be transparent and, know your shit. Don't BS them.
Right.
Because they'll see you with real issues.
Correct.
Antoine?
Absolutely. I'm human just like everybody else. So being in this field, you hear stuff, you go through stuff, you take on some feelings and like you need to be in therapy. I'm a product of a single parent home. Father wasn't there, so I know I have issues. I'm about to be a father, and I don't want to pass
Congrats.
those.
Congrats.
Thank you. Shout out to Baby
Pray
Fleming.
for you.
Shout out to Baby Fleming.
Hashtag, yes, yes,
Hashtag
yes.
Baby Fleming. But yeah, like I don't want. I feel like my mom worked so hard to break those generational patterns for my brother and I'm not going to drop that ball. And I know therapy is a tool for me to be a better man, a better father, a better husband, and a better therapist. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Marlon.
Well, my first experience with a therapist, I won't say the exact situation that happened,
No, keep it to yourself. It's okay.
but this is a juvenile situation, and I want part of the terms of my conditions. I had to see a therapist, and I would catch the bus to go there to see this therapist once a week. This white lady had to be about 100, but she probably was like 58. She literally gave me a worksheet. Like 2 worksheets. I would fill that worksheet out. She would go over the worksheet with me and be like, all right, cool.
That's
I'm
it.
12 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then to turn 24, 25, however I was in 2007, say, you know what, I'm going to go to college and be a social worker. So like, how I get from that to this? So now I'm like, man, I go. And I'm trying to go. Me and my wife, we going when we get back from Jamaica.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
also making my one-on-one appointments with the therapist that we both see. And I just believe it's important, not only collectively when you're married, but also individually. Because there's always certain things that you may not want to address, or you don't know how to bring them up to your significant other because of the way they may respond or the way they might react to it. So for me, I'm like, you know what? On my one-on-one session, hey, Doc, this is my question. How do I bring this up? Because as therapists, we don't know everything. Because,
Right.
Our concentrations were our concentration, the things we chose to, take a little further than others. So she provides that additional support for me. So when I go home, with my Trojan mask on and be like, hey, wife, let's have a conversation.
You're armed with the tools you need.
I'm armed with the tools I need to properly communicate the issues and concerns that I may or may not have.
Erling, can I say something right
Yes,
quick?
you can.
I'm going to look right in the camera. Women,
Oh, Lord.
let your man go to individual therapy
Ooh.
and couples therapy. Let that happen. I'm looking right at you. Let that happen.
Yeah.
Public service announcement.
And then what
yeah.
goes on in that therapy session,
Stays
that individual
there.
therapy session, needs to stay in that individual therapy session.
Yep.
Please.
Don't
let that
go to
happen.
prying.
Right.
Don't go to prying. Well, what y'all talked about? You was in there kind
That
of
was
long.
a question. I skipped that question because I was trying to get these other questions.
Yeah.
But that was a question. Y'all know I was going to ask that question. How understanding your significant other will give him peace. Whew, but you just you said a mouthful right there though, because
look, you see him on the playback.
It's true though, and I think because we're prying individuals, people don't like that. I'm pretty honest about. My friends say that I'm like a male advocate. I don't believe that at all. I'm a woman. I know how we are. I know how we can be diabolical. I know how we can be all together, and I think we pry and then we hold information, and then some of us use it against you later on. You know what I mean? So I think, and I do agree that we tell you need help, but sometimes we need more help as well.
Correct.
And then you get the help. What they say, it's not for you to know.
No. That person.
Or why you hiding it from me? It's not for you to know.
No.
Because we're not going to tell you what we're talking about in our therapy session.
Correct.
We're not going to. So, last question, and then we'll close out with some highlights of everyone. How do you plan individually to change or enhance the landscape of mental health in your field? What do you plan individually to do? I'll go with Jason first. What do you plan on doing to change the landscape, bring more
Where's
awareness?
Jason?
He's there. He's there.
Yeah, I'm here. So 2 things. One, promote more group therapy sessions so we can capture, more men, in that setting. I'm a big advocate of group therapy, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is really just kind of continuing to, have forums like this, when opportunities come up, just normalizing it, talking about it. I think that's a big thing, just talking about it, get it out there.
And you have a website.
Yes, www.pnpcoach.com. That's for peace and prosperity. I feel like when you have peace in yourself, that you can be a lot more prosperous. But when you don't have that peace, everything gets disrupted.
Definitely.
Awesome. And you offer different type of coaching. We have your website up right now. People can see it. And the link will be in the bio after the show, definitely on that. So I checked it out. It's pretty interesting. I like what you're doing right there.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice right there.
Yeah. Look at y'all. They're entranced by it. That's how
Hey, man,
professionals do things, right?
Nah, hey man, we go support each other by any means.
Yeah, so the
necessary.
link will definitely be in the bio, and hopefully you'll get a lot of
Jason
hits
spent
from
some money
that.
on that.
Yeah,
that's nice, brother.
And he has
I
a
like
Facebook
that.
page as well, not just this website. He has an actual Facebook page for
Yeah,
your.
Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the links will also be in the bio as well. Kayla, what do you plan on doing to change the landscape and enhance mental wellness in your field?
So I'm always trying to share information through my social media, but then not just through social media. As of late, anytime I can present, I'm out there. I'm on different college campuses. I'm talking to the young people. I'm trying to get in front of people physically, just to talk about mental health and normalize it and let them know, talk about the process. Because one thing that so many people think about is that they think therapy is you're going to go someplace, you're going to sit someplace for an hour, I'm telling you what you need to do, and then boom, you're going to be healed and you out the door and we good to go. And so not only do I talk about it, but I also try to just normalize that process to give people a better understanding of what it's going to look like so that they can feel more comfortable with the tender.
And you have your hashtag therapy is normal.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like that.
I like
That's
that.
dope. That's dope.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So, Antoine, what are you doing?
I'm going to continue my work with youth.
Yeah.
I've just always have valued youth. I value the potential that they have.
Yeah.
So continue my work with them and exposing them to therapeutic interventions and helping to normalize it within them and helping to expose them, hey, what you have gone through, you don't have to carry that.
Right.
You don't have to keep carrying that. You don't have to pass that on. That you can lay that down and continue on. And also fighting for change within the system that I'm in,
Right.
Haversell and LBJ, and trying to fight so that our symptoms and our experiences aren't minimalized as we're trying to get something.
Absolutely.
Dope.
And promoting these brothers, because this is some good stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely.
Man, you done
put
wrote
that
so
up
many notes. I feel bad.
Yeah.
I got like
Yeah, I'm
3
passing
notes,
this
man.
on,
This
right.
man here.
Marlon, what about you?
So the biggest thing for me right now is creating a system to where we can support one another. And not only as men, but also as male therapists in the field. I definitely believe we don't have enough support systems just within the city of Houston. Like I can't tell you, I've met one other black male social worker outside of Antoine. I've been here almost
And now
5
you met 2 years, but they're not
Right,
from.
I'm
They're
just
not
saying
here.
that's just-
They somewhere else.
Right.
My bad.
Right. I'm just saying that's just here in the
Yeah.
Houston area.
Yeah.
And the only reason I met that brother was because we were doing our clinical supervision. But outside of that, it's so few and far between. So one of my goals is to start attending some of these social work meetups and things of that nature, and possibly create a support group just for male social workers that's in the field, and also a couple other support groups just to continue the education and growth of men's health and wellness. I think that's a couple things. I think I'm gonna open up a couple more social media pages.
And you're writing a book.
Yes. I am currently writing a book. I'm not gonna say the title. I will be back on Shall We Proceed? I'm gonna speak it into existence.
Yeah, no, it's all of you are welcome back. Absolutely, no. This will not be the only time that y'all will be on the show. Y'all have my information. You can say, "Hey, I got this going on," and I want to.
I know where
said,
I know where you hang out at.
Right. Dominique McGee, I'm going to shout you out, Dominique. She said this should be a monthly, if not weekly
Dominique,
discussion.
hold on. Dominique L. McGee.
Yeah.
Yes.
What up, D?
But I want to say thank y'all so much, because I knew it needed to be done.
Yeah, we
And
appreciate you.
I wanted all men, because I like the men folks, but then I like, I wanted y'all all to speak from the male point of view and men of color, and I will definitely do this again at some point in time. Definitely. I'm tired. It may not be right away, but because I'm tired. But it will happen again. It will happen again.
Shout out to you for allowing us to come in and
well, look at you. You're really trying to get on that show again. Look at you. Go ahead.
Hey, man.
He brought me gifts and stuff,
I might be here on my own podcast one day. We're going to talk after the show.
Yeah, absolutely. He brought me gifts. I don't know. Y'all slipping. Y'all could have sent me something to the mail. In the mail. Thank you. I appreciate it. But no, I definitely appreciate all of you for being on and taking the time out, because, you don't get your time back, and time is precious. I really appreciate all of that. I will have everyone's link and your hashtag and all those things in the description after the show. I'm on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, Spreaker, and pretty soon I'll be on iHeartRadio. This will be tagged to the top of my page until the next show is going to happen in 2 weeks. You all in my phone. What? Marlon, all in my phone.
Hey, I'm just saying, I just see all my little people posting, you heard me? Hey, I'm
just
saying, hold on. Shout out to all my New Orleans people.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because I put the call out. I posted, I'm like, hey, y'all say we rock. Y'all better watch this.
You are hilarious. I love it.
I'm just saying. That's what I said.
My phone up like, what's going on? But no, I really appreciate all of you being here, and I truly appreciate. And I'll have everyone's links. I will have your hashtags. Whatever you're doing, please send it to me, and I'll definitely shout it out on the page. You all will come back at some other time, and you can come on any other show you want to. Just let me know. Make sure all of you follow this page, follow these gentlemen on their social media. It'll be in the description. I will keep this post tagged at the top of my page. Share it. This is something that men need to see. If you have more questions, still send them in, and I'll make sure the guys get them, and they can go on the post and also answer those questions as well. You can go to my bio and follow me on Instagram at shall_we_proceed. That's my Instagram. You have my Facebook, and I really don't do. I do Twitter as well as Charlize, and follow my page. You can go to the old shows on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify. They're all there, and of course, it'll be on this page as well.
Check out the old shows. They good, like for real.
Look at you! Look at you! It's only a so few. So few.
An hour and a half. You know what you could do in an hour and a half.
A lot. I'm
just saying.
And you'll see me in 2 weeks. I will have a show on July 2nd. Will be the next show on part 2 of Single Folk Shit. That's exactly what it's. That's what it's.
Man, I'm gonna be.
That's what it's.
Hey,
it's called.
I'm gonna be in Jamaica, man.
Yeah, so we have that coming. Thank you, Jason. Thank you,
Caleb.
Caleb. I'm so sorry, Caleb. The Remy, Antoine and Marlon. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
We lost the connection for the gentlemen, but I know they can hear me. They can see it, and thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Check us out later on. As of right now, see you in 2 weeks.
Black Panthers Unite.
Yes.